Hey guys, welcome to the video. In today's video, we are going to learn about all the data types that are there in Python language. First of all, we'll be learning that what are the data types and why are they used. So the formal definition of data types here says, data types in Python are a way to classify data items. They represent the kind of value which determines what operations can be performed on the data. Since everything in Python is an object, Python data types are classes and variables are instances of these classes. For example, int is a data type which is a class, and when we create a variable such as x, then it is an object of the class integer. For identifying the class of an object, we use a function that is type function, and it gives the output that is the class name of the data type, and the constant value which we put in the variable is called the literal. Now the question is, why is this classification? It is because when any variable is created, then specific functions, methods, and operations work on these data types. For example, the addition operation works differently for int data type and string data type. When we apply addition operation on int objects, it gives us the sum of both the integers. But when we apply the same operation on string data type, it gives us the concatenation of both the strings. That simply means that it joins the two strings. So broadly classifying, these data types belong to two categories, that are built-in data types and user-defined data types. Built-in data types are the data types that are already provided by Python, and user-defined data types are those which we create while coding to represent custom data structures and concepts. We will be learning about it in later videos. Now at first we will see the data types which come under built-in data types. The built-in data types are classified in several data types, which are numeric data type, sequence data type, mapping data types, boolean data types, set data types, none data type, and binary data types. We will be discussing all these data types one by one along with their subdata types. The first one here is numeric data type. The numeric data type represents numbers. There are three subtypes of this data type, that are int, float, and complex. Here the int data type represents an integer number. An integer number is a number without any decimal point or fraction part. Now if we store an integer number -85 in a variable x, here we call x an int type variable. A float data type represents floating point numbers. It means a number that contains decimal points. If we store a float number into a variable x, then we call x a float type variable. Floating point numbers are also written in scientific notation, where we use e to represent the power of 10. For example, 2.5 cross 10 to the power 8 is written as 2.5 exponential 8. Here e is called the exponent, or exponent notation we can say. Such numbers are treated as floating point numbers. A complex number is a number that is written in the format a plus bj. Here, a represents the real part of the number and b represents the imaginary part of the number. The suffix j denotes the square root of -1. The parts a and b contain integer or float. For example, 3 plus 5j or -5 minus 3.5j. So now if we store a complex number in variable c1, then c1 will be complex type variable. Complex numbers are not that used in data science unless we are working on a project which is related to mathematics and all. But it's better that we cover all the data types. The second one in built-in data types is sequence data type. Here sequence represents a group of elements or items. For example, a group of integer numbers will form a sequence. There are four types of sequence data types in Python, that are string, list, tuple, and range. In Python, str represents string data type. A string is represented by a group of characters. Strings are enclosed in single quotes or double quotes. Both are valid. We can also write strings inside triple double quotes or triple single quotes to span a group of lines including spaces. The triple double quotes or triple single quotes are useful to embed a string inside another string. A list represents a group of elements. A list can store different types of elements. Also, a list can grow dynamically in memory. It means that when we add new elements in the existing list, it just adds in it, and we write the elements separated by commas. We can make a list with 0 elements, with 1 element, and with many elements. There is so much to learn about the operations and functions which are used in lists, which we will be covering in the separate video of that. Now what is tuple? A tuple is very much similar to a list. A tuple is represented by parentheses. A tuple contains a group of elements which can be of different data types, just like list. In a tuple, the elements are separated by comma, just like list. The only difference in lists and tuples is that tuples are not dynamic and are immutable. That means once you create a tuple, then after that, you cannot add or remove elements from it, or it cannot be modified. And if we try modify it or add any new element to it, then it will throw an error. The next data type is range. A range data type represents a sequence of number. Range is a function that generates a sequence of numbers and returns them to an object. So range is also called an generator function. Here the range object R is created with the numbers from 0 to 9. Now we will be learning about the set data types. So let's first know what is a set. A set is an unordered collection of elements, much like a set which we study in mathematics. It is represented by curly braces. The order of elements here are not maintained and a set does not accept duplicate values. So there are two types of set data types. Those are set data type and frozen set data type. First, we will be discussing set data type. To create a set, we enter the elements separated by commas inside curly braces. Here we can observe that in output it does not maintain any order. Also we can observe that in output the duplicate values are not there, which means that it has not stored the duplicate values. Now you must be wondering what is a frozen set data type. So it is nothing but very similar to the set. The only difference here is that the frozen sets are immutable, that is we cannot add or remove any element and it cannot be modified. If we try to modify or add or remove any element, then it will throw an error. We can create a frozen set by passing a set to frozen set function or by passing a string to the frozen set function. Now let us discuss the mapping data types. A map represents a group of elements in the form of key value pairs so that when we give the key, we get the value associated with it. In Python, dictionary data type is an example of map. Dict here represents dictionary that contains pair of elements such as the first element represents the key and the next one becomes the value. The key and value are separated by colon and every pair is separated by comma. All the elements should be enclosed inside the curly braces. Now, we will be looking at the binary data types. In Python, binary data types are used to store the work with raw binary data. That is, data in the form of bytes, zeros and ones, instead of regular text or the numbers. There are mainly three subtypes under this. Those are bytes data type, byte array data type, and memory view data type. So what is byte data type here? The byte data type represents a group of byte numbers just like an array or list does. A byte number is any number from 0 to 255 and not any negative number. We can modify or edit any byte type object. It is very similar to byte data type, but the only thing different is that the byte array data type can be modified. Now what is memory view? Memory view allows you to access the internal memory of an object without copying it. Normally when you slice or copy data, Python creates a new object in the memory. But in memory view, it does not copy data, works directly on existing memory, makes programs faster and memory efficient. Now let us discuss the Boolean data types. The bool data types in Python represents the Boolean values. There are only two Boolean values that are true and false that can be represented by this data type. Python internally represents 0 as false and any other number as true. A blank string is also represented as false. Condition will be evaluated internally to either true or false. And the last data type we are going to discuss is the none data type. In Python, the none type data type represents an object that does not contain any value. To represent such an object, we use null in languages like Java. But in Python, we store none to represent an empty object. Then its data type is considered as none type. In a Python program, maximum of only one none object is provided. One of the uses of none is that it is used inside a function as a default value of the arguments. When calling the function, if no value is passed, then the default value will be taken as none. If some value is passed to the function, then the value is used by the function. In Boolean expressions, none value represents false. So these were the complete data types in Python. Now, in the end of the video, today's tip is typecasting. So what is typecasting? Typecasting means converting one data type into another data type. The question is why we need to do typecasting. The answer for this question is that sometimes we need to perform certain operations on some objects, and for that we need to change the type of the object or variable here. So how to do typecasting? It is as simple as learning anything in Python. That is, just apply a simple function and you are done. If you want to change any variable to int data type, just put it inside int function and the job is done. Similarly, we can do it for string, float, boolean, etc. So this was all for the video. We'll be discussing operators in Python language in the next video of this complete Python for Data Science series. Till then, keep learning, keep applying, keep building.